started. So it's 4:01. I'm going to call our meeting to order this time. Next, we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance, and I should say up front, if anybody who would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance, let me know. But I'm gonna lead us again. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Calling rolls. Board Member Walker. Board Member Tiffany. Here. Board Member Fonseca.
Here.
Board Member Gomez.
Here.
Board Member Cazares. Present. Board Member Blackman. Vice Chair Castanos. Here. Chair Johnson.
Here. Item 3, any additions and or deletions to the agenda? None. Item number 4, public comments and is there any public comments?
There's no public comment at this moment.
Okay, no public comments. We'll go on to item number 5, which is our conflict disclosures. Anything anybody needs to add to that? Right, item number 6, our current business. So item 6.1 is going to be the introduction of our new community police oversight board member. And our new person is going to be Manny Fernandez. And Manny, I don't know a lot about you, but I know you can tell us all about yourself. So
I'll give you a little bit.
Okay.
So I've lived in La Mesa for roughly about 15 years now. My wife owned a business here at one point and is looking to do that again in the future here pretty soon. So just looking to do my civic duty and yeah, excited to be here.
And
Okay.
Annie represents B1 for the area of La Mesa. That's a mile.
Right, right. Well, we're glad to have you. So thank you. for being part of this. Item 6.2 is approval of the minutes for the Community Police Oversight Board meeting held Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. So has everybody had a chance to look those over?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes. I will second them. Second.
Okay.
Board Member Tiffany, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Board Member Fonseca, how do you vote?
Approved.
Board Member Gomez, how do you vote?
Approved.
As abstain.
If you weren't here, we typically abstain from, yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know if that's necessary. I
I
think
don't-
we just, it's not necessary. It's not okay.
Board Member Cazares, how do you vote?
Approve.
Board Member, I'm sorry, Vice Chair Castanos
Yes.
and Chair Johnson.
Approved.
Motion carries with board members voting yes and Board Member Tiffany abstaining.
All right. We'll move on to item 6.3, which is La Mesa Police Department updates.
Thank you, Chair. It's good to see everybody again. I do have a little bit more updates this time, so bear with me. Try to be quick, but we've done a lot of great things. April 27th, we had a Crime Stoppers Enough is Enough awards luncheon that the police department attended. We recognized Sergeant Julie Jensen, for her amazing work in helping solve one of our homicides. Just the dynamic teamwork, but Julie really stood out among the rest. So we were able to honor her on April 27th. On May 3rd, we had our county law enforcement memorial ceremony that was down at the county admin building. It's really nice to see Councilmember Jack Shue and Councilmember Patricia Dillard there. So it was really nice to have that collaboration. Fortunately or unfortunately, this was always a rough time for everybody. You know, we recognize and put new names on that memorial. One of the names in particular was a state parks or parks ranger that was on there that Councilmember Shu was actually present when that officer passed. And it was a while ago. So finally his name was added to the wall. His family was there. So it was a really good event. May 7th, I attended the Blue Mass. It was a mass put on by USD Catholic Church there at the campus. So they invited out law enforcement, recognized for Law Enforcement Memorial. That was a nice event. We met with one of the bishops out there and met with their congregation. Give you a quick snapshot of our staffing. It's looking better. We were at 6 police officers down. We're at 4 police officers down right now. So I've given 2 conditional job offers. Those officers will start on the 22nd and 23rd of this month, respectively. One we're taking from the sheriff's department. She has been working in the jails there. She's an academy graduate, so she's going to come to us, which is a good thing because the academy's out of the way. We can put her right into a training car and get that training done a lot sooner than we could with somebody just from scratch. Second person we're bringing in is going to be graduating Southwestern Police Academy on June 3rd. So it's actually the first in-academy cadet that we've hired from that academy. So June 3rd, unfortunately, I will not be able to be at the Flag Day Parade. I will be at the graduation pinning a La Mesa PD badge on this gentleman. And then we can start him just like Ashley to come and start the training program. So we're really excited about that. With everything, there's always a give and take. Officer Atwood, Master Officer Atwood is retiring tomorrow after over 23 years of service to the police department. We traditionally do a walkout ceremony. That'll occur here tomorrow at 4 p.m. For those that can make it, you're more than welcome to come. It'll be right out in front of the police station. It's a really great ceremony to honor the 23 plus years that he's served here with our department. He was instrumental in Shop of the Cop. So, you know, for those of you that have known Colin or have met Colin, he's all about the kids. So it's a huge loss for us, but we're happy to celebrate with him as he moves into retirement and finds some other adventure to do. I did select a lieutenant from the process that we did. I went outside this time. So we have a lieutenant, Matt Conlon, who's in backgrounds currently. He comes to us from Coronado. He's also was with El Cajon PD for almost 28 years and went over to the San Diego State University where he was a lieutenant and a captain there. So he comes to us with a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and we're hoping to get him on board here real soon. I wanted to address just a couple things. So things that you may not know that the chiefs in the county have been doing. One of the things we've meeting with a group called San Diego Standing in the Gap. And San Diego Standing in the Gap was formed obviously after the George Floyd murder and the protests here at La Mesa. And it's a group of faith-based leaders that just want to help and get a conversation started. And so we've had some good conversations. We've had some tough conversations, but a lot of the county chiefs are involved in that. I have been involved in it since I became chief and even before that. Basically what we have right now is each representative on San Diego Standing in the Gap has been assigned to a chief to see how they can help. So we should have Pastor Tim Naves on this call watching the Community Police Oversight Board. I invited him to our meetings. So we're excited just to get some more interaction and show people what we're doing to continue the conversation and make policing better. I wanted to share that with you. I will also offer again that ride-alongs are available. Those that have been in ride-alongs, thank you for doing that. They are available if you do want to take a ride-along. Todd Snyder, Sergeant Todd Snyder is our point of contact. So it's just tsnyder@cityoflamesa.us, or you can reach out to myself or Lynn or anybody and we'll get you in contact and get you on a ride-along. Welcome, Kayla.
Thank you.
I'd mentioned that we got approval to do a staffing study. A staffing and efficiency study that we've been looking forward to for quite some time, and one thing that has not been done in this agency, to my knowledge, ever. And with the way that La Mesa is expanding, continuing to expand, policing changes, we're reaching out to the experts. We're going to have a kickoff meeting here on Monday. So that will start that process. It's a long process. It obviously is going to take a deep dive into technology and everything that we're doing. Are we using our assets the best way we can? What do we need? What can we change? Things like that. So that's going to kick off on Monday. They'll start with data collection, collecting all of our calls for service, things that we've been doing, about a 6-month process. But at the end of that 6-month process, the good thing is that our department, city, will have a 1 to 5 year plan moving forward as to how best to look at policing and from a different perspective.
Chief, could I interrupt you? So
Yeah, absolutely.
so it's gonna take 6 months to get the full report,
Right.
and will you be able to come in and give us updates? Because I think that's something definitely to hear about.
Yes.
Already seeing that we could take any other positions and, that, and increase people who are badge wearers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole process.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will keep you updated. You are actually part of some of the interviews. As it moves forward, the CPOB is part of the city and what we do. So we're gonna make sure that we get your opinions and your objective analysis of what's going on and what you think should be done. And there's also going to be some community meetings, excuse me. So it is really a great opportunity for the community to develop what the community wants.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, and that's all I have. Any questions?
Question too about the efficiency study. First of all, thank you for being proactive because that's pretty cool that you brought them in. And secondly, will they also be able to review the RIPA data that's Racial and Identity Profiling Act data that's coming to us eventually, but will they have a chance to see the interim information?
They will see it. However, that's not their role, is to identify that. And so we're still talking about what do we do? We have the data. How are we going to actually have it analyzed to look to best practices and how we can continue to get better? So that's something that we haven't looked at yet as far as an analysis. This company is going to be looking at calls for service, how much we're actually paying. I think I've explained this, before. Right now I have 3 lieutenants and they're wearing multiple hats. And then officers are doing different things, multiple hats, working a lot of overtime. So it's going to be staffing and efficiency on that level. And then when it comes to RIPA, we're going to look at that separately. But yeah.
Can I just ask you about Pastor Tim Naves, I think you mentioned? Is he local in La Mesa or is he?
Spring Valley.
Spring Valley, so nearby.
He's one of the attendees if he was able to speak.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, well, that's really good to get that kind of input and yeah, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry. No, that's great.
All right, thank you.
Good. Thank you, Chief. Item 6.4, the legal counsel mediation policy update. Caroline?
Hi, so not much to report here, but we have made some progress. As you may remember from last month, I believe Dale updated you, we had a meeting with Brad Fields, counsel for the POA, to discuss basically the one remaining issue with the mediation policy. And Dale and I left with a good sense of the POA's concerns, and we agreed to go back and meet with the mediation subcommittee and see if we could come up with some proposed language. So we spent April doing a little more research into mediation policies in other cities and seeing how they handle the kinds of the issue that we were reaching with the POA, which is basically how do we define a successful mediation? How do the parties know that an agreement has been reached and walk away? And what kind of language is used in other policies to define a successful mediation? So we got some really great examples from cities around the country and pulled that language together to offer some revisions to the mediation policy. And we discussed that with the subcommittee and agreed to send that language off to Mr. Fields, which we did last Thursday, and he is looking at it now and said he will be in touch. So that is where things stand now. We are cautiously optimistic that this language will be mutually agreed upon, and that we will be able to bring this policy to you guys in the next meeting or two to approve. That is it. I'm happy to answer any questions though.
Any questions anyone has? I just would like to say thanks for all the work you're doing with this. We've been working on that mediation policy for a while, and we're closing in. So I feel hopeful. This
Yeah. As we said at the end of our last meeting, we're practicing mediating by mediating over the mediation policy.
Yes, yeah, we are. Thank you.
And maybe for the sake of those who are new to the board, we can give like a summary of what the mediation policy is. We're trying to develop a policy that allows community members and officers to have a third-party mediator discuss their concerns on both sides and then come to some agreement. And if agreement's reached, then the complaint is tossed out. And if there's no agreement, then that's the question I think that we're working on, like what next? So we will, keep working on it, and the mediation committee has been working hard. I think Caitlin and Leroy are both on it, so it's been good. So thank you, Caroline, for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks to
Caroline.
you.
Okay, item 6.5. That's our interview of an applicant for the Community Police Oversight Board internship program. I think everybody has a copy of the application in front of them. I don't think we actually have Maya here.
Yeah,
Or online, but that's okay.
I'll check the.
Okay.
yeah, so we've, the city clerk's reached out to Maya
Mhm.
a couple times this week. I've reached out to her today. We have been unable to make contact with her.
Okay.
So we are thinking that we're gonna push this to the next agenda and continue to try to reach out to her. We've done it via email, voicemail, haven't received a reply, so my recommendation would be to push this to the next agenda, and we can keep trying.
Okay.
But we handed out the application form, so everyone can get a sense of what she filled out. This is public record. Her name, her background. So that might be a little bit of a help to get an idea of who she is and what her interest is in the CPOB.
And I'm wondering, because students typically don't check emails very often, they might check texts, but
TikTok.
yeah, TikTok. Yeah, and I'm wondering if we should try to go through the Helix people, like Lauren Knuth at Helix is, like the community outreach person for the students, and maybe we can go through her. I could give you Lauren's contact information, and she could probably try to send something to.
Be willing to do that, just as long as we don't violate any
Right,
confidentiality.
yeah,
of the
she can't
school.
send you her student email,
Yeah.
but students tend to check their Helix emails more than they check their personally.
Yeah,
So,
and we'd be willing to do that as long as it's not a violation. of any
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
confidentiality or privacy.
right,
Sure.
Would like to commend, I think that's great that the reason she applied is from the outreach that the officers doing. So I think it's testament that it works, and I think that's a good thing. So kudos.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was impressive. We had 3 students come up to us afterwards and ask us questions about serving as interns on the the board, and two of them actually didn't live in La Mesa, but apparently Maya does, and so it would be great to bring her on, but the other two said they were interested in just participating and learning about it just because they want to know, so that's where we welcome them as well,
Yeah.
so that is cool, and the one thing I wanted to ask Stacy, on the application for internship, it has a due date, September 2021. And I've received information asking, well, what's up with the due date, you know, and I said, well, just ignore it, just submit it, but maybe we could just take it off altogether.
I'll suggest that to Megan and.
Okay, to Megan, yeah.
The correction.
She's put that out, so, yeah, if we could just remove, yeah, because it says down here, due September 7th, 2021. So, we should just remove that altogether. Great, thank you.
And, so what we'll do is just move this.
Yeah,
to
we're
our next
gonna,
meeting.
we're gonna place this on the June agenda, and we'll keep trying, and you and I will
Okay,
will make contact on your ideas.
okay.
Next item is 6.6, which is a quarterly report from the independent police auditor covering the period from January 1st, 2023 through March 31st.
Okay, I'm just calling it up so I can see it. You all have a copy of it. We're gonna be changing the picture next quarter. Going down to page 2, complaints and audits, internal affairs initiated in the third quarter. The first one,
I know.
Can
So-
ask them just to pause while we work on tech?
Yeah, so Rick, if you could hold on for a second, we're gonna try to.
We're gonna try to call it up and share it on the screen.
And also, Rick, we can't really hear you. I don't know if you can, if maybe, I don't know, we can hardly hear you, so.
okay,
Rick, if you can get closer to the microphone, it might help.
all right, I've slid closer.
Yeah, or just do the old talk louder.
I can do that too.
Just yell at us.
Yeah.
That's a role reversal, Leroy.
Yeah, I know.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay.
Is this as loud as it
I
will
know.
on the computer?
I know, it's really hard to hear,
Yeah.
especially if you have ears like that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I only have one ear right now.
We'll work on it.
I'm hearing fine for what it's worth, so I do wonder if it's an
I think
issue
the
on
volume
your
probably
end.
on Rick's end, because we're hearing Kate, we're hearing Caroline pretty good.
Hmm.
Are you hearing us? You good?
Yep.
Does everyone have a copy of the quarterly report?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll just continue that. There you go. Rick, do you want to continue?
Sure, I wasn't sure what we were doing. So I'm looking at the first listed complaint, 2208. The complaint alleges racial profiling, detained for jaywalking, and forced into a crime scene when he was arrested. His allegation of force was the knee into his back, injuring his rib cage. As we've all learned, every use of force that is filed generally comes in under excessive force. This one was probably more exactly defined as improper use of force as an allegation, but be that as it may. La Mesa's finding discrimination wasn't sustained and excessive force was unfounded. We did not complete our audit in the quarter, so it will be reported upon next quarter. Any questions?
So Rick, and I'm looking at the bottom part of that report, so it's still, the audit's still in progress, right? So we had some items about the internal affairs stuff, but you're gonna wait and develop that for the next meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, 2209. Again, excessive force and an improper search. The complaint was stopped for registration violation during a grant detail. Chief, would you help the board with your definition of what a grant detail entails?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a Stone Garden grant. It's a grant that we work with regionally in the county. So other agencies, San Diego Sheriff, maintain, they're the fiduciary for this grant, but we work with other agencies in the county and it's a regional. So when it says grant, that's what it is. So they're typically outside of our county or our city.
Does it have a focus? Is there?
It has a drug nexus focus,
Drug nexus.
like a border, bringing drugs across the border
Oh,
nexus.
Okay.
And preventing them from coming into La Mesa and other cities with the big fentanyl.
As you can see, the complaints alleging excessive force and an improper search. The issue on a vehicle search is different than a search of a person or a residence. So that's what we'll be examining. And his excessive force is when the officers place their hands on him during a pat down, the legal name of which is a Terry frisk. So Terry frisks have gone to the Supreme Court, so that's pretty well settled in law. The issue on the improper search is if the vehicle exception applies. So going into the fourth quarter.
Well, before you go on, can I just ask the chief about the date that it was filed and that the fact that the investigation is still pending? It was filed in September 1st. Was it difficult to get information or?
I don't know the specifics on this case. I'd have to take a look at it and get back to you.
Okay, but generally when it's pushed back several months beyond, the deadline.
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why that happens. I don't know specifically, like I said, on this one.
Yeah.
But I've seen it to where, conflicts of schedules where somebody can't come in for an interview or there's a vacation or there's even an officer's attorney that can't make it at that point for an interview. There's a number of reasons that push it back, but I don't know specifically on this case.
Okay.
All right, moving on to 2210. This individual is a female who had been involved in a fight at a party. The officers arrived. She was arrested. She alleges that the officers did not listen to her side of the incident and unduly arrested her. They refused her request for medical treatment. She added the officers failed to conduct a meaningful investigation and missed important evidence. We had to administratively decline on this for a couple of reasons. The biggest one being budgetary constraints. So we declined. It didn't meet our guidelines anyway. And false arrest is something that can more easily be adjudicated in our court hearings. And failure to provide medical treatment, that would be something to examine it's been my experience that when the officers in other cities fail to provide medical treatment, it's a benefit to the citizen who no longer incurs the financial debt when their injury is otherwise de minimis. It saves them considerable amount of money. But then again, if this person, and again, we didn't spend a lot of time on it, but she wasn't alleging heart failure or anything significant. So sorry, we couldn't audit it, but it didn't meet the audit requirements anyway. Any questions?
And were we going to put in parentheses when it says administratively declined, were we gonna put some rationale for why that?
We will, I think we agreed in the future, the next quarterly report, if it's administratively declined above and beyond the definition above, that listed in the definitions, then we'll do that. I don't want to put administratively declined because of budgetary concerns, but administratively declined because it doesn't meet audit minimums is probably what I would put on this one.
And Rick, I had a note that was gonna ask what the issue was that warranted the arrest, so.
And again, I don't, the IPA's office does not investigate the underlying crime. We investigate the alleged misconduct of the officers. So yes, we certainly could have, and in the future, we can add what the charging allegation was from the police officers. But that's not part of what we would investigate. That's what the police department, the DA's office, and eventually the court would adjudicate, not us.
And if I can give some background on that, I think it'll be a little bit more clear. So in this case, well, in all cases where we would make an arrest, somebody goes to jail, the officer has to fill out a probable cause declaration. That probable cause declaration details the reasons for the arrest, what penal code section was violated. And then once that person is taken down to jail, they're booked in the jail, a judge reviews that to make sure that it's legal, proper, and justified. And so, we've had that typically on our check boxes before, where false arrest was one of them. And so I think that's what you're seeing here. If the person was booked into jail and a judge approved the probable cause, then it's not false. And then it becomes the district attorney's obligation to either charge that case or not. That makes it a little bit more clear.
So it's really, our IPA would
Right.
kind of be just
No.
pushed out of it. It's a whole nother process.
Yeah, and that's the reassuring factor I think that's important is that we just don't take people to jail just to take them to jail. There's a lot of paperwork that's involved, and judges review the paperwork that brings a person into jail. So there's a lot of steps and procedures. Now, people can later sue for false arrest because they didn't get charged, but the arrest itself had probable cause, so they were able to be put into jail.
I had one comment. I was a little concerned about how the officer was able, or officers were able to deny getting her medical treatment. Maybe you can help me understand that, like what type of criteria does it have to fall under that the officers can dictate what's a medical emergency and what isn't?
It's a great question, and we're always trying to CYA, if you will. If somebody says that they have a medical issue where they're having a heart attack or they're having chest pain, or we've had, I've swallowed fentanyl, I've done this, they're always going to medical. So when we arrest somebody and take them into jail, they go through a process in that jail. That process is a nurse screens them for anything. And I can't tell you how many times we get rejected down at jail because somebody may have high blood pressure, or they've said they've been in a motor vehicle accident where they may have not have told us that. But that screening is done prior to booking in jail. So, if there was a true medical issue, I don't know the full details of this case, But if there's a true medical issue, it would have been identified there. And that's somebody talking to a nurse, not a police officer. But an immediate type medical issue where somebody's saying, I'm having chest pains, we're not gonna stop and say, no, you're not, we're gonna take you. We don't do that. We call the paramedics, we bring them there. If there's a true life-threatening emergency, we will bring paramedics. If somebody says, my hand hurts, my finger hurts, whatever the case may be, this is a battery, sounds like. I don't know the specifics, but those are typical injuries that would be looked at jail before they even got in. And if the jail nurse felt that it was something that they didn't want to book that person into jail for, we take them to the hospital.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, case 2211 is pending both in the PD and with the IPA. The complainant is alleging excessive force. The description of the excessive force meets our triggering guidelines, so we will audit this case when it's done. The salient part of this is the placement of the knee, and twisting of the arm is very standard in an arrest, and handcuffs do cause bruising. Those two things will also be examined, but they're fairly routine complaints. It's the placement of the knee that we'll be looking at very critically.
So I have a question about that one. The chief might be able to answer. When the statement is the arresting officer twisted his arm and placed his knee on the complainant's neck, is that the complainant talking?
Yes.
Okay, so I wonder if, Rick, if we can put the alleged activity or something. I mean, we need, it sounds here like this actually happened, and we don't know that. We just know this is what the complainant alleged.
And the first sentence says,
Yeah.
Complainant alleges.
Yeah, I see that, use excessive force. I don't know, I just feel, the arresting officer twisted his arm and placed his knee on his neck. It sounds like, to me, it sounds like, even if you just said the arresting officer allegedly twisted his arm and placed his knee. I mean, I just think all the way through, it needs to be clear that this is not fact. This is what the complaint, I mean, this could be fact, but we don't know.
Right, I mean, and these are all pulled straight from LEFTA, which is our tracking system that we put in.
Yeah,
So these are all allegations. They're all pre-investigative allegations, all of them.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. But it's important, especially in this public setting now, for everybody to know and to hear that this is simply the allegation. This is the very beginning stages of an investigation. And like I said before, I think, I appreciate the board for, looking at the fact that we had those check boxes on those complaint forms. Because what we've seen, and I mentioned this before, is a lot of people in their frustration or whatever, form they're in at the time that they're filing a complaint will likely check boxes. And sometimes those boxes don't actually line up with what they really want to complain about. And so, this was all of this was pre-removing those boxes. Like I said, I don't know everything about all these cases. I know generally some things, but I can tell you that had something to do with it.
So Chief, we should see in the second quarter, the results of the unchecked boxes.
Yes. Yes. And then, like I said, an investigator, when they talk to the complainant, is trying to pull that information out. What exactly is it? And they may describe an incident. Okay, well, we're going to put it into the box that we believe it belongs, and start asking those questions to bring out more information.
We good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The next case is a New Year's Day case. The complainant alleges the officers handcuffed him, placed him on a mental health hold against his wishes. Complainant is alleging excessive force, false arrest, poor service, search and seizure violations, and discourtesy. The interesting part of this is the complainant would not consent to the police department contacting him to conduct their IA investigation. Without the complainant being able to be interviewed, it's not a case that IPA is going to audit. You can't legitimately just file a complaint and say, I'm not talking to you guys anymore. You've got to come in and sit down for a controlled interview wherein all of the facts, the setting can be brought into focus so that the actions of the officer can be more clearly understood, if you will. So we declined based on the fact, here you go, Janet, complaint would not cooperate. The police department has completed their review, but it was done outside of the quarter. So it'll be reported on completely in the next quarter with their finding. This occasionally happens where they don't have anything listed in LEPTA when we begin to compile the report. As we got to the end of that 3.5 week period of compiling a report and revisions, we then learned that they had finished their report, but it wasn't done in the previous quarter, the quarter of this report. So we listed as completed, and it'll be reviewed, brought up once again in the next quarterly meeting.
If I can add something to that too, just for a little bit of clarification, that's another box that we took off. Is that it says in the instructions that the Mesa Police Department will contact you, but then in the complaint form, it says, do you want to be contacted? And they had a choice, yes or no. So, we don't ever want to get into that position. We're going to contact somebody, even if they don't want us to contact them, because that's our process. Not to antagonize them, but to get to the bottom line of what the complaint is and how we can resolve it. So just so you know, that's another box that we took off in the previous meeting.
Okay, 2302, we're currently working on. Complaint was involved in a traffic accident. The officer ran him for warrants, asked to search his glove box. He did, but did not do this with the other driver. The officer then called the owner of the vehicle to see if the complainant had permission to have the car. The individual alleges that he was discriminated against. This case is pending for us. We haven't completed it yet, so I can't give you an understanding. Once again, it was completed beyond the end of last quarter, so it'll be fully reported on both with the PD's finding and our finding. Any questions? 2303, the officer, according to the complaint, the officer wrongfully alleged that private vehicles were blocking fire lanes and egress routes and ordered them to move their cars. According to the complaint, the officer then mischaracterized the number of people in a building. The complainant sent a copy of the video to the chief. It's, again, the allegation of discrimination. It's pending both within internal affairs, and once they're done, we'll get to it.
So I guess it's just unclear what is alleged and what is real here. Was it real that the officer, I mean, you don't know at this point because everything's pending, but that's not clear in the synopsis. I don't know what's going on. I mean, it'd be nice to know the difference between the allegation and the actual facts. And maybe there's no difference, but it'd be nice to know.
Yeah, it would be. The allegations still come in as they are. And so once it's in, and that was the allegation initially, that's up to the IA investigators, the internal affairs investigators, to dig out and find out exactly what the issue is.
So, but I'm just saying on this write-up for us, we need to know what was, I mean, maybe internally that works for the police department, but I think for the public, we need to know like what's alleged and what's, I mean, and I think, I don't know, I think at this point, everything that's put before any investigation takes place, either by internal La Mesa Police Department or by our IPA, we need to assume that the synopsis is all alleged.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And-
Yeah, especially in the quarterly reports when they come out, that's all it is an allegation.
And can it say that? Because at this point, I just don't like statements made. You know, going out to the public, statements are made and then we say, oh, he kneeled on his neck. That was really creepy. And it's all alleged, so.
Well, I think I'm offering a solution, I hope. We input this information into LEFTA that then goes to the IPA, the Independent Police Auditor. We can look at it and make sure, okay, would this make sense to the public that this is an allegation and an allegation only, and we'll try and make it word better if that helps.
Yeah, or maybe Rick can catch it too, if he sees that these are statements, maybe he can plug in the word alleged or.
But I mean, I feel like they all say that it's alleged.
This one doesn't though.
It does.
Says officer wrongfully alleged.
Oh, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. It
they
does
are.
say that. Yeah, egress. Officer then mischaracterized the
But I
number.
agree with you. I mean, you can't really control what other people are gonna say, like,
Yeah,
you know, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and I think it's our due diligence to kind of.
I think we can figure out a way to, I hear what you're saying. It
Yeah.
makes sense.
yeah.
So just
And I-
alleging that these are allegations, maybe just something in the key.
Yeah, because even, you know, the 2301 says, you know, complainant alleges, and then complainant is alleging in the second sentence. So it's very clear that, you know, anybody who's reading any sentence knows that these are allegations. I just don't want somebody to read, oh, well, he placed his knee on the complainant's neck. Wait a second, you know, and that could go out, you know, to the public and hit social media and say, oh, look at this, you know. I think
Yeah.
that,
Council
Rick,
has a
I think.
comment. Go ahead, council.
Oh, just what one solution might be, because I agree that this can be ambiguous, would be to just say synopsis of complaint,
That's
to make
what I
it
was gonna
clear
say.
that you're summarizing the complaint and not the incident. Because yeah, I agree that it's in the PD's interest too, to not be suggesting that these are all facts being reported out, and perhaps also clarification.
And then I was
The
gonna
chief
suggest
saying
the
that all
same
of this-
thing. And
Go
then
ahead.
maybe right underneath it where it says allegations, maybe also say synopsis of complainant and then also say these, you know, the below, and it could just say synopsis of complainant, and then the below is the full allegations or something like that, is a totality of allegations, and then it can go into the thing. I don't know, so it could just
Yeah.
like clarify that throughout, or have a star next to it, and then at the very beginning, say, all of these are allegations, it's an ongoing investigation, and then each one of those have a star, so you can go back to see that on the star.
That's what I was going to provide as a recommendation, is if you just put it once.
Yeah.
And then the form that the IPA that Rick is writing up doesn't have to drastically change, we just have it on there. And that way, anytime if something is taken out of proportion, you just say, like, look, at the very beginning of this, it is clear.
Or it could be just, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, good.
No,
I think that's
at the beginning, just have a
Description of what the
this is
synopsis.
the following is, they're all allegations and blah, blah,
Right.
blah. Then your
Because I even think synopsis implies that's what happened.
summary of what.
Yeah, summary of what happened, and that's not, you know, synopsis of allegation. I mean, somehow it needs to be clear that this is not just a synopsis. This is
Or it could be summary of complaint.
summary
Could
of
be-
complaint would be a
would be-
better. yeah.
We will, how about we work with Rick on the language? Because I think we all understand the issue and I think that there's workable solutions. And so we'll move on from that and we'll work with Rick.
Okay, I'm making the change as you're talking, so we're good to go. I don't want to lose my thought though. Okay. 2304, also pending. The complainant alleges officers came to her residence and were intimidating and took the side of the other party. They allowed the other person to harass her. We are probably going to administratively decline on this one, but we do want to look it over a little bit prior to that, just to make sure that there was nothing more there. But I can almost guarantee you that it doesn't meet audit requirements as established by the CPOB. It's pending in the police department and we're going to review it, likely not audit it. (2305), watch commander took a call wanting to file a complaint. Citizen refused to identify themselves, wished to complain about an incident that occurred over a year ago, over 2 years ago. The citizen alleges a video of the incident is available on YouTube. We have no idea, I have no idea, if the complaint is the subject of the incident or just a citizen that happened to be standing by and captured it. The allegations summarize false arrest, discrimination, and civil rights violations. For those reasons, it's pending for us, and we'll see where it shakes out. Any questions? All right, you've all read the trends and issues. Do you all have any specific questions? Do you want to go by them bullet point by bullet point?
I have a question. I know you had a question though too. Do you want to?
Go ahead.
It starts off with that it's recommended that the investigators familiarize themselves with the policies, and I was just wondering if that was different policies than the ones that are listed later, like the completing it within 15 days and then letting the chief know if it's gonna go over 30 days, or how to put it into LEFTA or the and I wasn't sure if this is a policy or if it was a recommendation to make it a policy to go over the video evidence prior to doing the interviews. So were the policies that you recommend that they look over, was it just those policies that were listed later?
Okay, so you're down on bullet point 3, is that right?
It is, bullet point 1, which is the investigators should familiarize themselves with the appropriate findings as defined in the policy.
Yeah.
I guess I just wasn't sure what that
Okay.
was referring to. And sorry if it was clear to everyone else.
Okay, so, and that makes sense. When an allegation comes in and there's no evidence that the allegation as stated occurred, that finding should be unfounded rather than exonerated. When an allegation comes in, for instance, on the use of force, if a officer used force, but the force was within policy, that finding should be exonerated. And we found a couple of times, and I've worked with the IA commanders and the command staff to make sure that we're exonerating when it's exonerated, sustaining when it's sustained, unfounded when it's unfounded. And it's very important to all involved, because some complaints, I'll give you a current example. There's a pending complaint where an individual alleges officers shot 3 dead bodies after they were dead and did some other post-mortem acts. The first interview in this IA investigation was to one of the dead people. who confirmed that A, she's not dead, nor is her husband dead, nor is their son dead. So that allegation, yeah, that's a serious allegation. But I mean, it's obvious that there's nothing there. You don't want to exonerate the officers, say they acted within policy when the incident didn't even occur. So that's what we're speaking to there.
Makes
Is that
total
it?
sense. Thank you.
Okay. Another question?
Probably the one that comes to me, you know, is the recommendations, and the recommendations are here in this first quarter of 2023, and some of them are very similar to the ones from the previous year. And they have to do with the internal affairs, and it lists the LMPD R&R 5.08 and 5.06. And Chief, I know you're working on those, but do you have anything to add to the fact that they're still showing up like a year later?
Yeah, I think, you know, we've done quite a few changes to address our internal affairs investigations and the consistency of those. Typically, an internal affairs investigation is given to a sergeant or a lieutenant, depending on who's here at the time. Everybody's gone through the training. We don't have a dedicated internal affairs unit like other bigger agencies do. It's typical that other smaller agencies do the same thing we do with sergeants, lieutenants, and captains that have been through the training. And then sometimes when that's done, things are missed. Nothing that affects the investigation per se, but sometimes timelines, people aren't following timelines. I mentioned in our last recommendation that we implemented the captains overseeing the timelines as far as when complaints come in, where they're at in the process, to make sure that we're meeting, if we're not meeting that 15-day period, that we get an extension that's approved through me. So that those implementations have gone in. We're still working the bugs out. What we did is we assigned a sergeant to do nothing but internal affairs investigations. So we think that that's going to solve the problem. We have consistency with one person doing it. It's the same thing as we put them into LEFTA, the independent police auditor is seeing them. They're seeing the same thing consistently.
The other thing that I would add, that in my experience now, missing the deadline is not unique to La Mesa. Another California city where I worked, I had officer-involved shootings that had occurred a year before. And there are numerous reasons for that, those missed deadlines. What we're saying is, if you're gonna miss the deadline, note in LEFTA why you're missing the deadline, and ensure you're complying with your own regulation, which is advising the chief that you've missed the deadline. That's all we're asking for, because, you know, justice delayed is justice denied, or so the saying goes. And this is their own time limit, as per their own regulations. Lastly, I would like to also say that, like the chief pointed out, without a dedicated IA unit, you're going to have more of these occur, because your department is stretched very thin. So these will exceed the 30-day limit. All you need to do is put in a memo and notify the chief, and you're back in compliance with your regulation. It's just, I don't want to say this because there's, you know, Captain Nicholas is here. This is almost a ticky-tack pointing out to them. But what it does do is it allows them to make sure that they institute some sort of tickler system in their IA investigations to make sure that they meet the time limits. Any other questions?
Yeah, Rick, I just had one quick question. Is there anywhere we could find a list of maybe what criteria has to be met in order for a complaint to be kept in the status of being investigated, or what criteria hasn't been met in order for it to be administratively declined?
Well, yes, it's in your organizing documents. That's where the 4 automatic audits up here. So you guys have that, it's your own organizing document. And it lists the four.
We can get you that. It's in the ordinance that established the CPOB.
Oh,
We can get you that.
But Caleb, we can also go beyond that. If we see something that's troubling and it's not one of the four main areas, we can ask that it be investigated by our independent police auditor. So that's something we can look at as well.
And quite
I believe
frankly,
that's stated in the ordinance as well.
Yes.
and quite frankly, that's one of the things we do as we're following the IA investigation, is to see if it's something that doesn't routinely meet the criteria, but maybe an audit is warranted. I haven't seen any of those, but we look for them in every allegation. And if that were to occur, then I would contact the chair and say, this case is not an automatic audit, but has some facts involved in it that an audit would be beneficial. And then it's up to you guys to say, yeah, we would like that audited, or yeah, we're okay with it. But as I said, we haven't seen one yet.
And I think the areas are excessive force, discrimination, shooting, and false arrest.
In custody death.
In custody.
In
yeah.
custody death.
In custody death, okay. So, yeah, those are pretty heavy duty things that trigger an automatic one. But again, if we, and what we were saying as we were writing the ordinance, if we see a pattern like this keeps coming in the complaints, maybe we need to look at this further. So keep that in mind too.
I'll give you a good example of one that I found elsewhere, that I've worked elsewhere, is failure to activate body camera. If this became routine without extenuating circumstances, we would probably recommend an audit. If for no other reason than to make sure that the CPOB through the IPA is emphasizing the fact that we need to activate our body cameras. That's a good example of one that's outside the automatic criteria. Now, I say that as an example because there are times when activating the body camera, the officer just didn't have time. Although it only takes a second to activate it, there were other things going on in that first 10-second burst that didn't allow him or her to activate their body camera. That I've seen those too, but it's the other ones. We did a case, it's been a little bit ago, where the officer failed to activate his body camera, and the underlying actions of that officer were found to be sustained. But thankfully, the other officers that were there had all activated their body cameras. So that's just an example. It'll be fairly rare where we have to come to you and say, this doesn't meet the criteria, but we recommend.
I have a question. For the recommendation that the investigators review all of the relevant evidence, like the body worn camera recordings, that's not already a policy?
So it's a good question, and it's timing of review. So in that recommendation, the body worn camera was reviewed. It's just they're recommending review it before you interview.
Right.
And so that again is different methods that we're trying to correct, to where everything is done the exact same way every single time. So that way, when it's reviewed by the IPA, it's consistent.
And would that be something you would make a policy on, or just develop a training document to be like, make sure that you do this in this order?
We're actually working on that right
Okay,
now.
perfect.
Yeah, for that reason. So that in the case that our internal affairs investigation sergeant is not here, and we have somebody else that has to review it, they know that there's a checklist that they go down to make sure that they've done everything.
Good.
I think so. No other.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
So item 6.7.
Sort of suggestion, is there a way to get, from maybe next time, I think last meeting too, is very difficult to hear, I don't know if we get on my.
I'm thinking about starting a GoFundMe to get him a new microphone. Rick, we're gonna be FedExing you a new GoFundMe microphone. So, well, in all seriousness, to answer your question,
Admired thing or something.
we're maxed out on our volume. It's obviously an issue on Rick's end because we're hearing Caroline just fine. I'm gonna be working with Rick offline to try to solve the microphone thing. I think maybe getting him a new microphone or something might be a good idea. Yeah. But I
So
think it's.
you're saying the budget is open again?
Everyone in this room is contributing
That's right.
$10.
Rick, I said GoFundMe. I said GoFundMe. Now, we're gonna work offline to try to solve. I've been thinking of that as you folks have been asking questions and communicating with Rick, that it's a common thing. I think Rick might have an old microphone or something, but I think it's a fixable technology issue.
I can hear you guys loud and clear. So, you know, and I have mine at 100% volume also. So, yeah.
That's what leads me to think it's a microphone issue, because you can hear us through a speaker, but you're speaking into a microphone.
Right.
And you're pretty close and you're maxed out. So maybe swapping out your microphone, which we've done with others and city staff who remote in to the city meetings, and it's helped. We might think about doing something like that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Item 6.7, the Community Police Oversight Board Survey.
So since our inception, we agreed to conduct attitudinal survey with members of the community. And in 2021, we received hard copy surveys from people within who attended the chief's listening session. And then we also did hard copy surveys with students at Helix Charter High School. So we ended up, in 2021, we ended up collecting 201 surveys. Then in 2022, we're doing this for 3 years in a row to see change over time. So 2022, we conducted the survey again at the chief's listening sessions. We collected 30 hard copy surveys and 180 online surveys. Many of those from the students at Helix Charter High School. So this year, we have 210 surveys, so it's comparable to what we collected last year, 201 to 210, so that's good. We have this, similar number, and it's going to be, the information that was collected is going to be analyzed by different PhD student at San Diego State, who's going to look at the survey that was analyzed last year by a different PhD student. So hopefully he will be able to replicate that analytical style and information. But what we're hoping is we can see some improvements in the perception, in the attitudes of especially youth, people of color. Those seem to be the areas where we needed to work. And I think with all of the outreach that the police department's doing, we should see progress over time. So we're hoping that by the time we do it again for the third year, we'll have collected a similar number of surveys and see growth. And that's what it's all about, just to see that, the attitudes are changing, the outreach efforts are working, and if not, what else can we do to make that better? So any questions about that? We're getting there.
Item 6.8, review the 2023 Community Police Oversight Board work plan.
Yeah, so maybe Stacy can share the screen on the work plan. So we talked about occasionally and with repetition, put the work plan back on the agenda to review it, just to see if there's anything that we want to be working on next, or what's coming up that the CPOB wants to address. We know we have the subcommittees actively meeting right now. They will report back on their meetings at the next meeting. But in addition to that, Amanda and I felt like putting the work plan up for us to take a look at to see if there's anything that the board wants to start thinking about tackling that we haven't tackled yet. Now might be a good time to discuss that. Can you zoom in on this document a little bit? There you go, excellent. If you could just scroll through it, I think that our newer members haven't seen the work plan. This is the council approved work plan for 2023 for the CPOB. If you'd like a copy, I can get you one. Our veteran board members are quite familiar with it. So again, just a quick review to see if anything stands out, any areas that you want to begin working on. We're hopeful that the mediation policy will be wrapping up soon. So this is a good time to start looking ahead a little bit.
Possibly, it might be a good idea to do a better job with our outreach, our social media, and maybe do a better job maintaining our website. I think we try to get documents up and posted, but
Is that a particular section? Can you alert me to a section?
oh, I'm sorry, it's work plan item number 5,
Okay.
and it's item 3.
So, and this is with the city's website concerning,
Yeah, the CPOB website with the city, like, yeah, like, I mean, it is the city's basically. But, and I don't know if we
Scroll back up.
yes, number 3, let's see, 4,
It's work plan item 5.
5.
It's like literally just scroll
Yeah,
up, yep, right there.
Scroll up.
Okay, update and
There we
maintain
go.
website for CPOB as necessary, develop PSA, public service announcement, and social media outreach. So I think, a number of people have mentioned better job with reaching out to the community and but can we, we have the city website, can we do a Facebook, or would that have to be through? And that's something probably when the new communications person starts in, that might be something that we could work with that, whoever that person ends up being, to maintain a greater presence in with media.
Okay.
I mean, it's an idea, but.
That was something we discussed in our outreach meeting today, so.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
good. So you guys-
But it's totally dependent on the city staffing and ability to.
yeah, like right now, our communications department consists of Lynn and I.
Yeah.
And,
And I'm winging it, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we both have we're both older and we both don't do social media. But
We're actually
but
holding our
we're
own.
holding
pretty
our
good.
own. We're both creative souls.
We can get this
Um,
intern in, you know.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I
But,
was thinking, great.
But
There's help on the way.
There's help on the way. We're actually in background checks for our communications officer, so sooner than later. So yes, and we're very excited about if we can, things can always happen. So we're not getting too excited, but there is opportunities. Lynn and I are both, Lynn and I actually used to work with each other in a previous life at a different organization. So we know each other well, and we both believe in outreach, and we definitely are going to, it takes a village in outreach. So that's something definitely, maybe once you guys start creating ideas, we can work together to see how we can push out that information as well.
Yeah, so we'll note that and we'll, as a upcoming item to start working on. Anything else anyone sees? Let's scroll through a little bit for.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too off topic, but I didn't realize you were the people doing the communications. You can't share Instagram posts onto your story from the city of La Mesa's Instagram. So if like anyone wants to post things like on Facebook, you can share it, on Twitter, you can retweet, or on Instagram, there's a setting turned on where it can't be shared. So if we want to share anything, it has to be like screenshot and then moved on. And so even like council members can.
You're saying that's a
share
setting in
their story.
Instagram?
Mhm.
Okay, see what we mean by seasons here?
Yeah, we'll move on from that, and I can show you how to do it after this meeting.
Take a look at it, and if we can fix it to share, what we can.
It's super easy, yeah.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah.
I think I noticed looking through it that we had a lot of the 2022 dates that are still there that we probably need to update. Or for some reason I saw 2022 showing up.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Chair. I probably need to go through the work plan. This is a static document that went to council at the time that we're calling up here. Some of the status need to be updated, and I can go through and do that. I have enough knowledge to know where we're at with some of these, especially after we hear from the subcommittees. Maybe that would be a good time to do it. So that's an easy exercise to bring that up to date.
And then our group on hiring. We were talking about, and this is work plan item number 10. And item number 1.
10.1.
So you're there, and then it's 1.5 over on the right side column.
Research the various options
Yes.
available.
Yes, that research various options available that satisfy the post requirement for the psychological exam. When we were talking about the psychological exam and MMPI, and that, we wanted information on it. And I think, who was it that was saying Dr. Sani could maybe come and give us additional information on if that's working, what can we do if we'd like to recommend something else, and it has to go through post, I imagine.
I'm not sure who said that, but Dr. Sani would be a great resource. I mean, she does all the psychological screenings for every officer that comes on this department. I think she'd be a great resource.
They recently also, question, sorry if it's okay if I ask, did they update requirements recently too about unbiased, unconscious bias? So maybe it might be a good opportunity for just like a presentation.
Yeah.
And then it will talk about the post requirements for unconscious bias.
I was also just gonna say that I feel like it's been a long time since we've had a training. Like, we did a while ago, the traffic training. Which I think was really good, like that there were several, I think there were like 3 or 4 options so that we didn't like violate the Brown Act.
Yeah.
And that was really nice. Obviously the ride-alongs, but maybe we could do have a presentation on that. Anything else? I think also like having the in-person stuff, like we got to go look at the car and like walk through how pull over, like there, yeah, so I feel like that was really useful.
Is the presentation by Sani, is it called?
Dr. Sani.
Dr. Sani, is that something that she can do at the CPOB meeting, or?
We'd have to check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something that the board would like for us to?
Yeah.
look at?
Agendas.
Yeah, I
Agenda,
think that would be good.
yeah, okay.
But as far as the training, I saw Matt feverishly writing stuff down, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, good feedback, thank you.
Item 7, if we're ready to move on. Item 7, committee reports, 3-minute limit. I'm gonna wait, I know your group met, I don't know if you wanted to say anything today, I'm gonna wait till I put together some more notes.
Yeah, we literally met right before this meeting, so talk about it if you all want an update, or I can wait until next meeting if is that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to have them all at the
All at the
next
same
meeting.
time.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Yes.
As always.
So the ad hoc that I'm on, the policies operations training also met, we'll do it at the next meeting, but I think I'm the only member of CPOB on there now, so I think because Bob Duff was the other person, so I think we need technically, I don't know, but I think technically we need another member on that committee. If anyone wants to join.
We got
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it sounds like you are now.
And then
All right,
And yeah, Manny, we need to get you on one of the
All
So
right, so, and the name of your, I apologize, the name of your.
It's policies, operations and training.
All right, John, well,
it's the pot committee.
okay.
The pot committee.
Fonseca is now on.
Yep.
So Manny, what we'll do is there are like three main groups. We'll have to give you a chance to take a look at them, but we'd like you to volunteer to be one of those. Okay, any other reports? Item 8, staff and board member announcements. I've got some QR codes for the Juneteenth that I'd like to hand out to people, so I'll send them out in different directions. You can take a look at the webpage, and I know we had a great presence with the police department there last year. I know we'll see folks there again, but I'd like to invite you and everybody you know to come out and just take a look at that QR code and open up the webpage. Give you all the information you need.
And
Yes.
if I can add to that, Leroy and I both have these posters that we'd like to see in shop windows all over La Mesa, like John's. And so I would like,
Signed by you, John.
yeah, I would like to, have you take one if you're planning to post it either in your place of business or elsewhere. And, or some business that you know, and if you don't think you can get it posted, bring it back because these are expensive. And a lot of color there.
Starbucks will put these up, so I'm gonna bring it to the Starbucks by me.
Yeah, so
Would you be okay with us doing a city manager update on our next city manager update? It's an e-newsletter.
yeah,
Would be on June
It'd
3rd.
be on the June 3rd.
That's
It'll be right before the meeting. It goes out to a few thousand.
fabulous. Yeah,
We'll do one.
thank you.
Well, speaking of June 3rd, we have our Flag Day Parade,
Mhm.
so come out, participate, 10 a.m. on June 3rd, and there's free ice cream from the city,
Oh.
so.
Can't beat it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
seeing
my
how-
graduation.
Oh, that's right, you
right.
got graduation.
It's going to be a beautiful day at that graduation too,
Yeah.
but no free ice cream.
I know. No. Save me one, please.
Yeah.
Parade is from 10 to noon or something. And
Starts at 10.
It just starts at 10.
Okay, yeah.
Every year it's a little different.
Yeah.
I've like participated in it since I was like a little kid. Every year it's different, so.
You never know.
Always good.
Always fun.
Yeah, it's always good. Okay, our last item then is adjournment. We'll adjourn.
Oh, I
at-
actually have an announcement.
Okay, sorry.
I just wanted to let everyone know this is not my last meeting. I have a couple more, but I'm going to be going on maternity leave in August. So thank you. So I should be here next month and we'll hopefully be here in July if everything is going well. But just in case I disappear, I wanted to let you know. You guys will be in good hands with Dale while I'm out, and I'll be back probably in January.
Awesome. Well, we're happy for you.
Congratulations.
Education's great news. Exciting.
And we'll adjourn at 5:25.
Thank you, Caroline, for your expertise and patience. Same to you, Mr. Rasmussen.
Yes.
Take care. Have a great evening.
Thanks. Bye.
Everyone.
Somebody made something like this on the same page. Obviously, I'm not.